They say that knowing is half the battle, and for the last 40 years, we have been trying to figure out what the other half of the battle is. There are GIFs, there are memes, there are fan-made catchphrases trying to determine whatever that happens to be. However, as we all know, with the HASLAB HISS tank already funded and the current conundrum and all the classified figures we've got on pre-order, moderns, the return of O-Ring, I believe the other half of the battle is almost unarguably the battle with our wallets. So whether or not you choose to spend or not spend, either way, we're all here to talk, argue, have a lively debate, whatever your opinion happens to be on this. Anyway, hi again, everyone. My name's Ken, and welcome to this episode of Toy Kennections Online, or TKO Live. We've got a full house backstage on this July 16th day of COBRA Convergence Month. So I'm just going to start introducing people on camera so that I stop rambling and we get to the real opinions and the people we actually want to hear from. So first person I'm going to bring on screen. Usually he's got a Calvin and Hobbes avatar, but he's taunting me with this Megaforce image because he knows I haven't actually seen that movie yet, even though I've seen like little clips here and there. He seems to be in every G.I. Joe stream, and I think we found a nice diamond in the rough because he needs to get on more of these live streams. Gazz? I think I did that right. Yes, I did it right. That looks like well, no, that doesn't look like Gazz. That's a Megaforce guy, but it's Gazz behind the camera.
Hello, Ken.
Hello, How are you today? How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
You're good. You're good. I'm good. I'm good. You're good. I'm good. Therefore, we're both good. Therefore, everyone backstage is good. All right. All right. All right. Now, if I did this in proper order, I've always got my good dreadnought of a friend here. He's an amazing customizer. He's from the island of Misfit Toys with his own channel. I'm going to say subscribe now because he doesn't like getting subscribers. He likes making a whole thing about, no. If I hit 100 subscribers, I'm going to start removing people. I'll restart the channel. But Dreadnought Ryan, welcome to the show today.
Welcome to the island of Misfit Toy Collectors, everyone. Hey, Ken, Gazz, or should I say
Hello,
Ace?
Bryan. Hey, thumb kiss to you, sir. Thank you.
That's gonna be a thing. You know what? I gotta watch the movie, so I'll understand.
It is a thing. It is a thing, Ken.
All right. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Now, next person I'm going to bring on is someone I don't actually recognize. I don't know whether it's just him clean shaven because nobody looks that young, clean shaven, especially at our age. And if they did, they probably grew up with Pokemon and not G.I. Joe. So I think they replaced him with a doppelganger. But for now, we can, part of the debate today can determine if this is the real Hans Chow or just somebody who's replaced him for the purpose of the camera. Buddy, welcome yet again.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Yes.
Ooh, it's Hot Stuff Hans.
True.
Hot Stuff Hans. We got to change that to your StreamYard name. And, I found out last week just how good of a voice actor he is. So he's not only handsome, buff with a fantastic voice, he's a great voice actor as well.
I do my best. Got to play with the gifts that the gods give you.
Yes. That's a Game of Thrones reference. Yes.
That's a Troy reference, actually.
Oh, that's right. It's
Sean Bean.
The thing is, Sean Bean said it. He played Odysseus, and he also played Ned Stark. So I transposed the two together. But yes,
Troy though.
And yes, Gaz, I have seen Troy because it's a 2004 film, and I was actually watching the movie. So we have this thing where I haven't seen most of the nice films from the 1980s. But anyway, as we enter this sort of standing room only crowd, I don't know what it's like to be a bouncer at a bar. I'm not as buff as some of you guys, but I have heard the phrase, when you have standing room only and the bar is full and the prettiest girl at the bar comes in and goes, really, you won't let me in? And you go, okay, we'll go over capacity for this particular one. So when she showed up, I could not say no to Xazyl when she asked to come. Sorry, wait. This is the wrong intro. Whatever. Welcome, Xazyl.
Oh,
there we go.
I'm not
there
sure
we go.
what you're on about, but okay.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't know Xazyl was going to be on until less than an hour ago, so I had to try to improv that entrance. And everyone else, I was like, okay, I got speaking notes here, and Xazyl was the only one. I was like, what's going on here? And I was reminded of a story, and I was like, that's not relevant. So I just plussed him in and hope that everybody forgets the last 30 seconds before that.
Yeah, I hope so too. What kind of entrance is that? Take me off screen and start again.
All right. How do I do that?
I'm
No,
kidding.
that button doesn't work. Okay. All right. So as we roll into Cobra Convergence month, we're about halfway in right now, and this wouldn't be the right stream without the curator of Cobra Convergence. He's been doing this for 6 years. He's been on YouTube for probably about 15 years. Everybody knows him. Hooded Cobra Commander, Bryan, welcome to the stream. First time on the show.
I am welcomed. Thank you for having me. Hello to Ken, Gazz, Ryan, Xazyl, and Hans. Nice to see all you.
Hello.
Hoodie.
There.
Absolutely.
You as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I believe today's presenter is Toy. Oh, what's their name again? Bryan, I had it up there. I tagged them on my community post. So when as I botch and fumble through this here, I'm gonna look it up, make sure that everybody knows I don't hijack their stream. It is My Side of the Laundry Room. That's who's today's stream, and then tomorrow is Mate Mylar and Jay Bartlett. So let's say hello to the chat. Brendan Haley's sends his condolences, but his chat's currently off the screen. Not sure why, but Brick something. Hello, good to see you. Brian Head Jim, if I get it right, HASLAB, we mean alienate consumers and demonstrate predatory tactics, then yes, that is going to be one of the things we potentially talk about today. We got Connor Fuller in the house. We've got Impossible Pie, one of the channel members, Tim. We've got Articulate Chad. We've got Sergeant Slaughterhouse pulling double duty. I can't seem to show his thing, but yes.
I'm showing my thing.
Sharing his thing and showing his thing.
Gaz gets it.
That's for the OnlyFans after party, bud.
Yeah, right.
That's the only. Absolutely. Okay. Well, guys, let's roll right into it. This is the most number of guests I've ever had on the screen. So as I try to botch entrances and pull the wrong cameras up, I think I'll probably get this one right. So, why is it lagging? There it is. All right, guys. Any opening thoughts? I'll prompt each of you one by one, but any opening thoughts on the HISS tank before we dive into this?
What is that?
No.
Okay. It needs something to tow.
Need something to tow. Well, let's open with this. Let's talk about the pre-unlocks on this particular thing. Gaz, when you first saw the HISS tank, what did you think? Not the old HISS tank, but this HISS tank, I should say.
What did I think? I thought it was a work of art.
Work of art?
Beautiful. It's beautiful. And look at it. There's not too much you can say bad about it. It looks great.
Yeah. Dreadnought Ryan?
Look, the G.I. Joe team, they hit a home run with this. HISS tank, we've had so many versions of it, 3 3/4 inch, 4 inch scale, but to get it up to that 6 inch scale, they knocked it out of the park with this. So the design team did a really good job.
Hans?
It's lovely to look at. My problems with it don't stem from its looks or its design. I mean, look, you're going to get an earful from me. But design-wise, it's gorgeous. It's wonderful. But it is also the size of an air fryer. So continue.
We got over 90. We got over 90 minutes here. So whatever you need to rant on about, we're all here to listen. So, Xazyl?
Look, I got to tell you, the HISS tank in this scale is something that was both a surprise and a no-brainer at the same time, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If they were going to do any vehicle, it felt like for a while it was only ever going to be single-seaters like motorcycles or whatever, right? When it came down to the HISS, though, it's like not only have they given us a gorgeous-looking HISS tank, but it lights up. And it lights up in such an impressive and gorgeous way that it just, if I could justify the price, and I'm not saying that's not worth the price, I'm just saying I'm priced out at that price. It is a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous figure. It's got some great add-ons. If it came with something to tow, maybe, but even then, it's like it's already pretty hard to get here in Australia. If it were affordable, it would probably have less of the stuff on it, but it would be an instant pickup. But as it stands in Aussie dollars, it's not happening, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Bryan?
Did I ramble enough?
No, it's good enough. It's whatever you need.
Well, I'm a HISS tank fan, so I think this was logically the right vehicle to start with. If you're going to do larger vehicles, and if you're going to do it as HASLAB, when it was leaked that they were doing a HASLAB HISS tank, my concern is it's just going to be an upscaled vintage HISS tank, and if that's all it was, I was gonna be out. I think that the price was also leaked beforehand, and I was like, wow, that is way too much for a HISS tank. But when they actually started showing the features, showing the electronics, showing the cargo bay, actually using that space back there for something instead of leaving it as an empty cavity, it grew on me very quickly. And yeah, it became something where, like, it's a hefty price tag, but I love me some HISS tanks, and they gave us a HISS tank that is both, a direct homage to the original, but also updated in some important ways that I think it really had to be in order to justify it as a HASLAB project. So yeah, I mean, I think it looks great, and I'm really looking forward to get my hands on it.
Yeah, and I think a few people more or less agree here. Like, if I can pull up his comment properly, Grindhead Jim here says the design is keen, no question. They could have made something dumbed down a bit and still been on the mark, and it looks nice. However, the price, and that's the thing I'm going to get into in a second here as I try to manage my screens. Let's see, what the hell am I doing? Gonna try to find a little something here that will help us on the debate about the price. I think that's the right one. Don't know how you guys do this so fast because I feel so ghetto trying to handle StreamYard here, but if that shows up. So when we talk about the price, I was asked on Geek Dad Life when Jay and then Ryan from Toy Anxiety, they're like, so who's getting this? And Ryan Dole said right away on that stream, he's getting it even at the base unlocks. And I said, I gotta wait for the unlocks. Sorry, the pre-unlocks. When we started getting the unlocks, once we got the HISS Tactician, which you can see on the corner here, there's a few options because they haven't nailed down the color scheme yet. But once they got that, side-mounted cannons, I wasn't a super big fan, but it does make it look nicer. Once they unlocked the gunner, the female gunner, and the extra Cobra Commander, I started to think, okay, you know what? Now you can see where the price adds up. And we'll get into the morals and the ethics of HASLAB at the end of the stream, because we're going to talk about this and the Skystriker. But I do kind of feel that if they hadn't unlocked all this, they were still ready to sell this to us for $300, even without all this. But in a retroactive lens, when you add all this up, I can totally see the value now. And probably you could even argue before they unlocked the Cobra Commander that the value could have been there. But let's go around the table on that particular one. Gazz?
I'm still unsure about the price. I think that the weapons could have been just a one unlock, and they could have added something like a tow vehicle with it for that price. And for the action figures, yeah, the Cobra Commander is cool. The driver's great. The Tactician, correct me if I'm wrong, but is the driver. It's just going to be a different color, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. So essentially getting the same figure, just a different color, and then you're getting a female version.
Right.
So yeah, the figures go for what, 25 a pop now. So that's $100 there. I'm not sure if the tank itself. Yeah, I guess if you put it all together, but I would probably feel more better about it if it had a tow or one other unlock, because I think those weapons could just be one unlock. And I think that the canopy and the side piece should just come with the tank anyway. Personally.
Yeah, I mean the alternate canopy, that second unlock, or was it the second or the third? I think it was a second.
I think it was a third. It was a third.
Third?
No, well, no, it's the second because the Tactician wasn't technically an unlock.
That's correct. So once we got the canopy, I was like, really? Do we need this? Like, it's just extra stuff that I don't really care about. But
if they didn't include that canopy, then there'd just be something for people to complain about. Well, it doesn't have the original canopy, even though people complained about the original canopy not being realistic enough. So
that's right.
So you can't win either way, right?
You can never please everyone. That's the big thing with it. So What's Chad saying here? The OG canopy and side skirts was the second unlock. Yeah, okay. So we are definitely correct on that. Dreadnought Ryan?
I bought the Robo Skull and they're going for $230. They've got the wings that move, the opening cockpit. You know, they've got that little drop down thing in the back. That's $230. That's coming from, you know, a small company. $300 for this. I was in with just that in the figure. I figured that's what the cost of the Hiss would be from HASLAB with the light up features. So I look at it more as not at unlocks, but you know, if it's just the item plus the one figure you get, are you comfortable with that price point? Yes or no? I was. The rest of it's just gravy now. So you know, I've heard other folks are like, I'm going to sell the, you know, the Cobra Commander when it comes in because it'll be carded secondary market to make up some of that money. You know, if you've bought 2 Hiss tanks, you have the different canopies and side skirts now, so you can have a command module and a regular Hiss. I think it's all what you want to pay for it. Joe fans as a whole, we tend to be kind of tight with our money. And I think the biggest thing is, you know, for $300, you know, folks wanted to get more than one, but when you're looking at, if you want to get 3, that's $900. That can be pretty pricey to come up with. So
Absolutely.
but I was in at 300 for the tank. I thought it was worth it.
And my feed cut out for about 10 or 15 seconds there. I'm not sure what happened, but it seems like it's good on everybody else's end. So I just got the weird sort of your signal's weak and the thing started swirling. And I'm like, no, this happened before. So I missed a tiny bit of what you said there, Ryan, but thank you for keeping it going, because if you had stopped and I was sitting there awkwardly, it would have been a bit of a weird sort of thinking moment. But if that does happen, feel free to carry on the stream. Even if I've kind of awkwardly frozen. But Hans,
I play with my toys, and anything the size of an air fryer that only carries like 1 or 2 dudes or 3 guys is and also a $300 is an issue. I am slowly starting to develop a problem with the classified line as a whole. I don't know if you want to hear that rant right now, but the reality is it's really geared towards collectors more than kids. And also with regards to designs in general, I think it's starting to steer more in the direction of appealing more vintage collectors rather than redesigning, modernizing, and innovating. That's the word I really want to look for, innovating. So if we talk about the Hiss by itself, it does look really nice. It's very accurate. It's old. It's old incarnation with some you know, some sleek little upgrades. But once again, if this is not going to be any fun to play with, someone in the chat said motorized, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, maybe if it was remote controlled or something like that. But I have no clue how I would start to begin to play with this thing. I mean, this is half the size of my son if I hold it, you know, standing upwards with the nose up. And
pretty much.
And once again, at $300 for a toy, I mean, unless it's like really durably built, which I'm sure it is, I feel as a collector, people are going to love it. Mm-hmm. But as a person who plays with their toys, not so much. And there are a couple other problems I have with it. I find those, I don't know if it's the right place to say, but I find those missile launchers are sketchy to start with. I find that widening, you know, the vehicle itself actually removes some of the benefits of the Hiss as a tactical vehicle. I find it should be mounted on the top. That's another problem I have with it. I find the unlocks themselves are unnecessary. I find they should have had maybe 2 unlocks at maximum, and then turn the price down to $200 or $150. Because once I obviously haven't committed to buying this, but if this was $150, $200 for sure, no problem. I find also in the Cobra Commander I was a real cheap shot. I find this Cobra Commander design, it fits in with the main problem I have with classified in general is there's no innovation here. It's a reissue of an initial Cobra Commander from way back when, and it certainly strikes a chord with, you know, vintage collectors and stuff. So, oh, great, I finally have this. But I do find that the original Cobra Commander they brought out in Wave 2 of classified is a superior design and figure. Sorry to say that. I know people don't like that Cobra Commander too much. I wanted to see more design-wise from this as person who plays with his toys, as a person who, as a person who expects designers to design. I think that this is too much nostalgia bait, and I don't love that. I'm going to let someone else talk now because I could go on and on.
Well, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Because the first wave was not nostalgia based, and I think more people were upset about that.
But I like that because they took a risk, and you don't know nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I feel like even though it was, some people didn't like those things, it wasn't bad. And I think that most of the people, even the people who complained, bought it. And then they went ahead to redesign. So even, let's say, Stalker, who's not out yet, he has a couple design cues that are more modern. And I'll contrast him with Dusty, who's almost a complete replication of his old version, and not many people are excited about that. So it really is a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. But if I have the choice, I'll always choose to see something new rather than something I've already seen.
And Hans, Lenny came out and said with the latest releases that we've seen, it's because it is the 40th anniversary, and they're trying to go back to that vintage feel. And to Ken's point too, you had a large part of the community throwing the temper tantrum because they did modernize the Joes, and in the 6-inch scale, they wanted to have that vintage look. And that was even non-Joe fans were like, hey, bring back that vintage look because that's what we want. I mean, if you look at like a Marvel Legends collectors, they want those comic accurate figures more so than updated ones. So it's true. The 6-inch line is not geared for kids. It's geared for the adult collector. Sorry.
Wave 1 was geared towards the Fortnite crew, the Fortnite players, the Fortnite kids.
Yeah. And to that point, Xazyl, let's hear your thoughts on this and potentially any Fortnite tie-ins.
Well, that's all I've got as far as Fortnite is concerned. But I will say this: as a fan of the Triple T, I don't need a canopy. I don't need 1 or 2 canopies. No canopy is just fine. But for a hiss, I guess you only really need the one. But the missiles are a little bit nerf. It's nerf or nothing when I'm looking at those missiles. Imagine if we got all of the Ron Rudat inspired hiss drivers. That'd be great. That'd be absolutely more than value for your money. But as it stands, we get to pick one of the bunch, right?
Right.
I hope they allow us another unlock tier where it's a second one of those drivers. Like they'll do a fan vote, and then whichever one wins, we get it. And then hopefully the second place.
I love your optimism, mate. But I don't think. Look, okay, I don't want to nitpick too much because I do sincerely and honestly think that it is a great looking hiss tank. I think that you look at when they open up the back. Well, I was watching them present this live on Hasbro Pulse, and I was just amazed at every single thing that they showed. They open up the back, and it just looks proper, right? It looks. It looks right. They showed the light up features. And it's like, yeah, that is gorgeous. This is some gorgeous stuff. And this was even before. Hey, Adam, how you going, buddy? This was even before they started showing up all this other add-on stuff. I was like, this is amazing. My only issue is, and it's not going to be an issue for everyone, but just for me, in Aussie dollars, I can't justify buying one hiss tank for that much.
Well,
no matter how many
shipping. I was going to say shipping's ace.
I don't even know if I can get it.
$100.
I don't know if I can get it. Can I get it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think you probably can because I don't think the size is going to be quite as big as a sail barge, for example, which we all know couldn't ship to Australia. And I know it's $22 to ship domestically within the US. My order came out to $32 to ship to Canada, which is surprisingly low given what it is. But yeah, I don't know what you can do in Australia. You almost have to pick the country of origin when you log in and see if it even lets you hit checkout.
Yeah, well,
if I do get one, I'm going to beg Gazz to hold mine for me because me and Xazyl are in the same position. As I said, it's a beautiful piece of toy artistry. The problem is this is very big, and if it If I have to pick between going to Joe Fest next year and getting a hiss, I'm going to go see you people. Y'all are much more handsome than any hiss.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The true value in being a G.I. Joe fan and collector is talking with fellow G.I. Joe fans and collectors. I had my golden moment. I had my golden era in the 80s. I've lived it, and all of my memories are locked in there in my brain now. My precious childhood memories. And so anything now moving forward is exactly what I'm doing here now. And if I have to sacrifice getting a hiss so that I can go to Joe Fest next year and hang out with Hans Chow and get some knowledge on how he keeps his hair so pristine and how he can get away with no beard. I can't get away with no beard. Oh my Lord.
Well, since you guys have the option, I don't even know if I can probably grow a beard. So yeah, since you guys have the option. So yeah. But no, interesting thoughts all around the table here so far. Bryan.
Yeah. So the price obviously is a problem for a lot of people, and that's understandable. That at that price point, some people will be priced out, and there's just no way around that. But I also think there's no way around the way this was designed, the way it was presented, and the price point. For a HASLAB project, you really have to go big. You really can't scale it back for this kind of project. You need to really provide something that at least enough fans will think is special, and that's just not that's you can't. You start cost cutting, you start trimming little bits off, and you cut your way out of having something that's worthy of a HASLAB project. So I sympathize with the people who think this is too much. For me, it's a lot. For me, it's a challenge to have the funds to back it, and I did. I ultimately was able to do that, but yeah, it's one of those things that it's not for everyone, and it really can't be for everyone. As far as the value of the tank versus the value of the tank plus the add-ons and all of the unlocks, I honestly I thought the price point would have been pretty close for the tank itself, given the size, given that it has to accommodate classified figures, given that it has so much extra stuff, as well as the electronics. The unlocks mostly didn't really do it for me. Somebody mentioned the missiles, the missile rack. I don't care about that. The extra canopy, for the most part, you can just keep all the extra bits. That really didn't entice me at all. The extra figures did. I mean, it comes with one figure, the driver, and then the tactician, which was the early bird special, which is going to be based on Ron Rudat's color studies for the original Hiss driver when he was designing the figure, designing it back in '82 for an '83 release. And I am more than thrilled that they brought Ron in on this. And he's going to be doing some package artwork too. So one thing that's important to me is supporting people that I care about. And I care about Ron Rudat. I think he's a great guy. I've gotten a little bit of a chance to know him.
Through Joe Fest,
a chance to hang out with him. And that is such, I think, an important tribute and a respect to the people who made all of this possible in the first place. That by itself was a huge selling point. It's an intangible, right? It's not something that you can necessarily. I mean, maybe you can put a value, price tag on these missile racks and a canopy, but it's hard to put a price tag on the involvement of Ron Rudat in G.I. Joe for really, I think, like the first time in decades.
Pretty much.
That intangible means a lot to me. So yeah, the figures. I take all the figures. I really like all the figures. And I like Ron's inclusion in one of those figures. The other bits, you can keep them. I probably won't use them, honestly.
Fair enough.
that wasn't really a great selling point for me. We talked about having a towable to go with it. That was maybe a little unrealistic given the size that it would have to be and the cost that it would add to it. But I mean, you could have kept the extra bits. Honestly, a towable in place of those would have worked great for me. So yeah, that's where I am. To me, it's easily worth the price tag. I mean, it's within a very short time of people actually getting these and them actually shipping. The secondary market on these is
it's going to be nuts.
If you wish to get them, you will probably wish you had got them at $300.
Look at this. Look at the Sentinel, right?
Yeah. So,
well, I mean, that might be my only option though, is aftermarket. You know, I mean, I've got some very good friends that have been able to help me out. Ken being one of them, giving me my lion's share of classified stuff, because classifieds I was all in on when Wave 1 was announced. Right, I knew they didn't look 100% like how I knew them, but they were enough like it that I knew who they were. And I didn't mind that they were trying to cater to a younger audience, because I was like, yes, kids need to get in on this. This is perfect. This is perfect for both. But then it got to a point where they were starting to create exclusives that were never going to be available here, because we don't have Walmart. We don't have the right Target like you guys have, where we can just walk down the street and hope that we'll find an exclusive there. We've got no hope of finding exclusives. It literally comes from the aftermarket stuff. Hans gets it too.
I'd like to echo Xazyl there. This is one of the reasons why I am not a completist when it comes to classified, and I will just let things go. Like if they're going to make it that hard for me to get, I will just not get it. That's
part of the debate. Yeah. So
if this HISS tank came with a exclusive Sergeant Slaughter, we'd be discussing very differently how I really need to get this HISS tank.
All right.
So if you ever need someplace to ship stuff to, I'll be happy to forward it on to you.
Oh, jeez, man!
I've done it for Steve,
sincerely. Thank you.
And I do have a beachhead if you need one. Just to let you know.
I do need one.
Beachhead looks nice besides the weapons. Articulated Chad, thank you for the super chat. And I know Chad has put some nice thoughts in the chat. I just haven't been able to keep up with both this and being on screen and the wonky internet connection, which seems to have stabilized. But I appreciate the candid thoughts here, Chad. And just because great topic. Great live discussion and a panel of awesome guys. Xazyl, he hopes to see you next year as part of, I guess, Joe Fest, if you can make it.
I hope so. First round's on me, buddy. Can I just say, we do have in the chat a bunch of really good channels that if everyone gets the time to after this, go check them out. And there's some new ones here that I haven't quite seen before, but I did try to share everybody when I found them. Particularly, I think I missed Payne's toy samples. My phone cut out. I wasn't able to share your channel, but I'm trying to share everybody's. But yeah, definitely go on and just after this one, don't leave poor Ken in the shade, but definitely go out there and check them all out, because there's some great stuff happening all over YouTube, and not all of them are big channels.
Yep, and thank you so much for throwing all those in there, because we have a wonderful community, and because I have a tendency to forget to shout out the patrons, channel members, and tell everyone where we can find them. Most guys on here are findable. Everyone here is actually findable on Instagram. If you look up any of their names, and then as for Ryan with the Island of Misfit toy collectors, Xazyl with Sergeant Slaughterhouse, and Bryan with Hooded Cobra Commander 788, you can find them on YouTube as well. And all these guys are available on Facebook, except for Hans, who doesn't seem to like Facebook. But just
I did link Hans. Hans, I linked your Instagram, and Gazz, for you, I put a thumbs up and a kissy emoji. I hope you appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
And speaking of emojis, somebody's a fan of the Ace Hunter thumbnail. Gaz tried to quiz me about who that was before we came on, and I completely blanked on Megaforce. I will probably say it's before my time, and then find out that the movie is probably from after I was born, so I can no longer say that. Yeah. And thank you, Adam. I missed what was said there because I was pulling up a chat, but it's probably a good thing. So, yeah. Look, amazing thoughts so far, everyone, on the HISS tank thus far. I'm hearing a lot of it's worth it even before some of the unlocks. I'm hearing a lot of it's not even worth it after the unlocks, and I'm hearing a little bit of it was worth it even with just the base and the figure itself. I'm gonna keep my pledge. I sold a few wrestlers this week to try to convince myself I could afford this thing. Shipping and everything aside.
That's the question. Is not that it's not worth it. It's definitely worth it. It's because if you go $300 in on the thing, you do the mathematics. It's definitely worth $300. The problem is, once again,
you're not going to get a better
item.
Right?
Yeah, you're not going to get a better HISS. No way, not at this scale. They'll be like, oh well, you can buy one for $40 from some other company. It looks like a HISS. Yeah, but it's not a HISS. Let's be real. But the problems that surrounding it, this is a collector's item. My son and my daughter are not going to ask for this. This is me,
Right.
Yeah. Even if I do get it, I don't.
This isn't for your kid. This is for you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
where'd you get the shirt, Ryan? Just before we forget.
Yeah, Ryan, great shirt, bud.
Oh, Teespring.
Teespring? Okay.
Teespring. Yep. I think it was like $15.
Absolutely. We need to get one of those. We need to make one of those for TKO.
His Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championship. Me ordering stuff from them. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, mucking layouts here, but yes.
I noticed in the chat some folks were a little bit. There was concern about that the vintage Cobra Commander with this GI Joe line. You're going to get that in the regular release. They reuse all of the molds. Every figure has at least 2, not 3, 4, 5 releases.
Initially, I
was the Mickey.
Yeah, and it's the Mickey.
Right.
But I also think the HISS drivers, the ones that Ron did, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of those released down the line either in those different colors. Just because they got that mold, they're going to want to use that again.
The purple one is Scream's Techno Viper.
Yeah.
Well, you should all be voting for the purple one because he's a tactician,
right?
Techno Viper.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. I'm going with the red and black. That's what I'm voting for.
I like the red and black.
Dang it. Come on, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm there.
Get with the crowd.
I want those colors on a Techno Viper, an actual Techno Viper eventually.
That too, yeah.
The red and the black one looks like the driver, but like reversed. And I just like that. I just think it.
I honestly thought one of the unlocks was going to be a Techno Viper. I think that
would have been a good one.
That would be cool. Yeah.
I kind of see if you get the purple one, and then you get a Gridiron Studios upgrade. There's the Techno. There's the Techno Viper right there. Right?
Or a Televiper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Televiper. You know what? I think I was thinking Televiper the whole time.
You
think about the vest?
One.
The guy with the vest.
I guess so.
The purple, the light purple,
It could have came with like an alternate head that had like, oh no, it's Joe written on the glasses. That would have been great.
Out.
I would like to say something about Hans, and that I agree that we are. I liked the earlier ones where they were, modifying and updating the designs a bit, and they have really gone back to just kind of upscaling the vintage figures. And I know that's what a lot of people wanted them to start with. I really liked the updates. I liked the change. But we're in this era apparently, and it apparently is selling well. But I hope that eventually, especially once they've released these figures, they've made their money off of the tooling. That down the road we can get some updates of them that are, I don't know, just a little more modernized. So I hope it gets to that. But also one other thing is, and Hans is exactly correct. I mean, this is for collectors, and I think it always has been. So if that's not what your goal is, that's really not the strength of a 6-inch figure line. If you're wanting to play with toys, if you're wanting something that's in scale for lots of vehicles, your classic 3 3/4 inch scale is great for that. The 6-inch scale does other things well. That's not the thing that it does well.
Hey, Mark's in the chat. Hey, Mark.
Good to see you.
And I think the big question I have for you, a lot of you guys, you collect 3 3/4, 4-inch, and some 6-inch. I'm just 6-inch because space. I mean, you have to do that picking and choosing. Like, do I want this O-ring that I've wanted for 10 years, or do I want this HISS tank? That's got to be the tough decision too.
Yeah. I don't really know what I do. I just cram it deeper and deeper into the shelves. If you ever look at my toy collection tour, I apologize about 6 times. Sorry, it's too crowded. Sorry, it's too crowded. Let me get the camera. Oh, you can't see the guy in the back. Okay, let me come back, pull some guys aside. It's like that. But one thing I wanted to do here, I know we've all put our thoughts in, but let's do this in black and white terms. Sorry, Hans, did you have something?
Yeah, just with regards to what Bryan said, just if he is curious about it, what happens with me at least is I sit down and I play with my kids and I see which ones they like.
Yeah.
Right. And those are the ones that get kept. We have a fairly active G.I. Joe community down here, even though the line itself is very, very inaccessible. But I found myself in a decent position financially where I can actually get figures with a certain degree of frequency. And I know a lot of hungry collectors down here. So the reality is I'll resell it for cheaper than I bought it, just to kind of let them get something. And I let my kids do the deciding for that whole thing. Space-wise, I also do tend to keep my boxes. So if I'm not playing with them, I can just restack really easily. Because loose figures are, as far as I'm concerned, loose figures sometimes end up as damaged figures. And as these things get older,
yeah.
Well,
I dropped a Desert Fox the other day, and it fit on it. All the thing I was whatever. That's a powerful.
Sorry, man.
So
my collecting is gone. It's gone from like I need to get like everything to just the way I was as a kid. I think this guy's cool, so I'm gonna get him.
Yeah,
I don't think it's cool. If I don't like it, I don't get it. I don't need to get it. So that's the way I do it now.
Makes sense. I'm going to quickly go around the table here. I know we all given our thoughts and we've all kind of made recommendations and put our deep thoughts in, but I'm going to ask in simply black and white terms. Is it worth it? And did you back it? I know some of you have already answered. Let's go in the reverse order this time. Bryan, is it worth it? Did you back it?
Yes and yes.
Okay, fair enough. Xazyl, I know the answer, but is it worth it? Did you back it?
I didn't back it, but I can see the value in it.
Fair enough. Hans?
It's definitely worth it, but I didn't back it.
Fair enough. Ryan?
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. Gazz?
Well, I think it's cool. I whether it's worth it is really up to yourself. Myself, I think it's worth it. I backed it originally, but I backed out because I just couldn't justify getting it because it's cool, but do I really need it? Do I need a classified hiss? Not really. So, but I think it's great.
I want to be the rebel in the room because no one's actually said don't back it. So I almost want to say, no, it's not worth it, but I backed it. So it's like
to resell it like that.
Very interesting combination.
So he's a scalper.
So it's a scalper. But then I got to buy more than one. So
it's you're the one that's going to my Target and stealing all the Joes, you bastard.
Yeah. There we go. And we see the true Gazz wondering where all his figures are. I found a way to get into his Target
place.
Yeah,
Ryan, let's go over there and get him.
Go over there.
Great White North.
It is worth it after enough unlocks. Like I think after the Gunner, I was like, okay, this is it. This is worth it. And once we got the Cobra Commander, I'm like, okay, I can make this work. But
I want to hear a remix of Ken singing Missy Elliott, where it's like, if it's worth it, let me work it. I'll put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
I'll do the next video.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a request from the room. This is the next. Yeah.
It's going to be dealing with buyer's remorse for like the next year. You can hear it 6 months later. I shouldn't have backed it. I really don't like it. And then when they come out and be like, "Oh man, I knew I should have backed this from the day one."
That's basically what it's come down to. So you know what? We are going to talk about the Skystriker here, but does anybody have any closing remarks before we leave the HISS tank behind? We'll circle back final thoughts later on. Anyone, any final thoughts on the HISS tank before we get to final thoughts? What did I just do there? Just talk. Someone else talk other than me.
So
move on.
I just real quick, I think as Joe collectors, we're at that great time to be a Joe collector. We have O-ring back, Joy Toys. Hopefully we're making 4-inch figures. We have classified, Mezco, Super 7, and we have HASLAB, and Joe is now 2 for 2. Star Wars is 2 for 4. So
yeah,
it's a good place to be. If you don't want it, don't feel bad for not getting it.
Yeah.
If you do want it, be happy that you got it, because it will be cool once you get it.
I would like to echo Ryan. I agree with that. We're in like a rich period right now where there's actually a lot of different kinds of GI Joe, lots of different kinds of products, and not everything is going to be for everybody, and it's not really meant to be. And so if you don't want something or don't like something for whatever reason, there's no reason to feel bad for that. I don't think anybody should ever be shamed for not supporting the line just because they don't buy something. So if this isn't your thing, that is absolutely cool. And you get no argument from me. Absolutely not.
Okay. Here for Cobra Convergence 6. And we're going to do kind of a similar thing here and go retroactive back to the Skystriker. Did it pop up? There it is. Okay. So back last November, and we're in kind of a similar conundrum now, because today what we're doing is we're looking at a HISS tank, and we're also looking at the original creators and 3D Joe Carson's Operation Recall. Last fall, we had both the Skystriker and the Robo Skull by Skeletron, Ben and Mark there, happening at kind of a similar time. But let's have a look at, when you guys saw the Skystriker, and you saw the price point and you saw the base tier, what were some of the initial thoughts on this, Gazz?
If it was a Conquest, that would have been all in.
You're one of those. But I don't blame you. I grew up with Conquest myself.
No.
Wow.
Honestly, I think it's cool. I mean, it looks like the Skystriker. I guess it's based off of the actual Grumman Tomcat. It's great, I think, but I don't have an affinity for it. I'm not a fan of the Skystriker, but it's cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Ryan, I know you like this thing, Ryan.
Yeah, the Skystriker was the first big Joe vehicle I got, I think, for Christmas. So it always has a special place in my heart. I'm a vehicle guy. I know I collect 6-inch and I don't have vehicles, but this was a great thing. I don't collect 3 3/4-inch figures, but I backed this at first just to make sure it funded, because I thought it was important for the O-ring to get funded on something like this.
Fair enough. Hans.
I don't know if you want me to talk now. You might want me to talk at the end of this.
Okay. Okay, Xazyl.
Yeah, look, I don't. It didn't get fully back, did it? Like, not all the unlocks happened. I mean, am I right?
No, we did.
Yeah, but it made an epic run though at the end.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, look, I don't hate it, but it didn't fill me with. I wasn't excited. I was excited more for the prospect of O-Ring Joe's returning and having the opportunity to pick and choose what I wanted to add to my collection. I think that if these were more readily available to me where I am, I might have considered it more than looking at it from afar, because I can look at it and go, that's pretty cool. But not being able to easily go and pre-order it, which is a problem. I just haven't given it much to think about, because the only way I'm going to get it is if, someone like Ryan was, let me to send it to them first. But it's not a straightforward thing. The good thing about Mattel at the moment that I've found is that if I want something, I can get something with their online stuff, right? Things sell out. I get that. But so far, I've been able to pre-order everything that I've needed to pre-order. But for some reason with Hasbro, I think the UK can order it. Canada and United States, right? Is that the only places at the moment?
I think
Yeah,
so.
that's the only place they have license to have the. It's basically Hasbro Pulse. Hasbro Pulse is the retail arm of Hasbro, so they have to get licensed to sell in other areas where Mattel has those licenses already.
If they brought back G.I. Joe O-Ring to retail, I think a Skystriker would sell. And whether or not I would pick up one would be irrelevant, because I feel like they would sell regardless of whether or not I bought them. They're obviously selling now regardless of me buying them. But the fact that I guess it's a long way of saying no, I didn't back it. I don't even know how much they're selling for, because I didn't even hazard the possibility of owning it. So I don't know how much they were selling for. I only vaguely knew that they didn't get all their unlocks straight up. But it looks like a Skystriker. You can't argue with that.
Well, cool. Was the only thing I didn't unlock the flight crew for
ketchup and mustard? Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I don't.
Those are the only things I didn't.
I don't even think this was fully backed on the final day, and then I think you were saying it went on a run where it not only blew past the base tier, and they unlocked 2 other tiers as well, all on the last day, I think.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brian.
I think it was close enough to being backed on that final day that it probably would have crossed the line, under any circumstances. But the Rancor failing, I think helped a lot and got a lot of people to kind of jump ship and end up unlocking a lot of those stretch goals. This one was a much harder sell for me. I like the Skystriker. This is a Skystriker with a bunch of extra bits, and that's not typically enough for me. I was happy about getting some O-Ring figures and getting a new character, which is very rare nowadays, with the co-pilot. And I did end up backing it, but that was a tough one. That one was a very difficult decision to make. And ultimately, even though I think it'll be great, I think it'll be a really cool thing to have. For me, what tipped it over is that I can review this, right? I can put this on the channel. I can do the thing that I do with these things, and that's like a bonus that's very particular to me, and that is not going to be a selling point for most people. But this one was much more difficult to decide to back, and I nearly didn't. The unlocks were fine, but not fine enough to really push it over the edge for me. There were some rumors while it was still going that it was going to be larger. It was going to be bigger, more like a true 1/18 scale. But then they quashed those rumors and are like, no, it's the same size as the vintage Skystriker. And it's it'll be nice, sure. But I'm just way less enthusiastic about this than the HISS tank. It's a souped up Skystriker. It looks nice. It has some updates that we probably always wish we had. They did uncouple the wing mechanism from the landing gear so they can operate independently. That's nice. They updated the cockpit. It desperately needed that. But it is still kind of a Skystriker with extra bits, and that was a tough one for me. I did end up backing it, but that was a hard choice.
No, cool. And I will circle back at the end then after we look at the unlocks and ask everyone in kind of brass tacks fashion if they thought it was worth it. Hans?
When this thing was announced, I sat down and I looked at it and I was poring over it. And I said, well, if this thing is scalable with the modern figures, which is what I'm more interested in, well, then I would definitely get it. Then that turned out not to be true, that it would only fit the O-Ring figures. And I was very happy that they were going back to O-Ring vintage style stuff. I was super happy for everyone else. But after about 2 weeks of thinking about it and thinking of the Skystriker, despite its iconic appearance, is still a really old-looking aircraft. We've made leaps and bounds in aeronautic technology, and I find the Skystriker looks so incredibly dated. And then on top of that, the predatory business practice is so very unappealing to me. I also feel like they could have done away with 50% of this other crap. Blast effects piss me off so much.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not into it. Yeah.
And if it was this could have gone, I feel they would have sold more if you walked into a Walmart or a Target or a Toys R Us and saw it on the shelf. It would have drop kicked you so hard in the chest, you would have probably bought their entire stock if the price was reasonable. But they didn't do that. They did this instead, you know.
I think,
and
as collectors, we're missing the point. Retail doesn't want this stuff.
I get that.
Hasbro makes toys to make money. If retail was buying this, it would be there. Period. They would rather do it through retail than have us do it.
I understand that.
Yeah. And to Ryan's point, though, Hans, I'm just going to jump in quickly there because I agree, because we look at this at retail and we want it. And I want to agree with everything everyone's saying. And then I look at the Origins Castle Grayskull and they're on clearance forever. And I'm like, oh, and that just makes the counterpoint while, just walking into the aisle. So, but carry on.
Yeah, this similar to the HISS tank. This is not for kids. This is for us. And we're all going to die probably very soon. And I really wish that they would do stuff more for kids so that I could enjoy this with my children so that they can have all these fond memories. And every time I see a Skystriker or a Rattler, I always feel this is nice, but a child is going to look at this. They're not going to want to play with it. Blast effects, they've lost them and they don't even own one already. And this is not... I don't think the Skystriker was the right move. Yes, it got funded. Wonderful. All these different things. And I'm really censoring myself right now. You have no idea. But yes, I prefer the HISS to this. And let me end with that, because I'm realizing the black liquid is starting to come out of my mouth, and I don't want that.
But Hans, I think the only reason why we got the Skystriker is they had to pay that licensing fee to Grumman because of the Transformer crossover for Maverick.
Don't tell me that, please.
Yeah,
Please
exactly.
You think so?
Yeah, because they had to pay probably a pretty decent chunk, and you've got the license. I don't think Hasbro management believes in the Joe line, and we've seen that for years now, right? The last store that had Joe's was Toys R Us, and it was a very small figure assortment. We had the Skystriker and the HISS in like 15 different versions, and most of them ended up in like Ollie's or Ross's afterwards. But I think it's hey, we have this license. You guys need to do the Skystriker again. And the Joe team's like, okay, we're going to do our best with what we've got. And at the end, they had to throw in all those extra Cobra figures and the stickers. And I think that's the other thing that helped get it over the top. You've got, I think, like, what? 7 O-ring figures that come with this, with those 3 Cobra figures that they threw in at the end,
which is where I was going next. Yes,
so I think that's the big thing for the O-ring fans. You get 7 O-ring figures, and they were going for $20 a pop on Pulse. That's a pretty big thing. The blast effects, that's for a certain collector who likes that kind of stuff. They put them on the shelf, but I think it was the amount of figures that pushed it over.
I always feel like Hasbro they're terrified. And this is a wholly American thing, and it's only one piece of you. They're very scared of military stuff. And I don't get that, because it's a wonderful thing. And I think even now, my kids still play with this stuff. And I think that's why they don't have faith in it. And I don't, you're a company. Make your money. You know what I mean?
You know what? I will say this. I keep hearing everyone say, I want to get this stuff for my kids so they can have these memories too. I don't want that for my kids. I want them to have their own memories and have their own things that they have while they're growing up. I don't hate Fortnite. I think Fortnite was great for the kids of this generation.
Agreed.
And people say, oh, this is too much like Fortnite. Because Fortnite's winning. Fortnite is winning in what they are doing. You know, Fortnite didn't go to G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe went to Fortnite.
If my kids start to collect G.I. Joe or be interested in G.I. Joe because of Fortnite, more power to them.
But Hans, when Joe started, it was the comic book and it was the cartoon, it was the figures. You had entertainment that rolled into selling the toy. The first G.I. Joe live movie didn't do good. It was a bad movie. The figures didn't sell as well as they thought they would do. After they launched the 25th, which did okay, Retaliation came out. That was a stinker. Again, the figure line got pushed. And then, you know, with Snake Eyes, we all know how that went.
Yeah.
Classified still hanging around.
I don't think we appreciated 25th and the 30th anniversary stuff when we had it.
I did.
Yep.
Still do. You know.
I bought it.
I would like to add an addendum, I guess, to Ryan's statement. I think the brand team that they have believes in it. They seem to, but the corporate overlords probably don't.
It must be frustrating being on that team.
A lot more on the bigger brands, the more marquee brands. But to Xazyl's point, I mean, I had two daughters that had absolutely no interest in G.I. Joe, so I don't have that. I guess I can't relate to that because like my kids never had an interest in it and weren't likely to. So yeah, like I think Hans is totally correct. This is all for collectors, but they're the ones that are buying it now. But if you're going to reach a new audience, I mean, this is not the way to do it. And I don't think that's what they're trying to do. But you have to do something more like a Fortnite. You have to do something more like what the kids are into right now. And I would like to see a next generation of G.I. Joe and a next generation of G.I. Joe fans. And like they've tried, Ryan listed off a bunch of the attempts that have not panned out. I don't think they should quit trying, but Hans is correct. This is all. I mean, it's not priced for kids to play with. It's not, designed for kids to play with. This is for old guys, and Hans apparently is aware that I'm going to die soon. He said, "I'd like to know what he knows."
Well, you know what? One of the things that I'm going to do before I go around the table here is I'm going to put my thoughts in because I'm going to ask you guys again, is it worth it? Is it not? And I've heard a few of you guys already say that you were more hesitant to back this than the HISS tank.
I don't even know how much it was.
It was $229, I believe.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and say I actually had less hesitation on this than the HISS tank. I backed this one more readily, and as the unlocks came, I was even more tempted. Well, I did keep my backing, and I'm going to say this: Night Force figures cost how much these days? And when the Ripcord got unlocked, I was like, "That's it. This is a slam dunk for me. Try getting that on the secondary market. Try getting Scarlet on the secondary market, and Scarlet would look just as good as Wayne Ruthell in that co-pilot seat. In fact, I would rather display Scarlet and Wayne Ruthell because I'm already familiar with Ace. He's the one I didn't need, but I understand why he was necessary for it. Then you add the three Cobras, and I had a chance to, but I didn't buy a Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander in the past. I don't necessarily have to have the original one, and because this is something of an exclusive, it'll be pretty desirable as well on the secondary market. Then you've got the landing crew figure on the far side there with the red vest. To me, I more readily backed this because even if you don't display the Skystriker, you've got all these figures that fit in with your collection as is. So that's my thoughts. To me, slam dunk on this one. Not riding the fence on this one at all. This was worth it for me, but let's kind of go around the table on this one. Gazz, agree with me on that one? Disagree? Slam dunk, worth it? Not worth it?
Again, I think it's up to the person, but for me, I mean, I don't dig the Skystriker, so it's not good for me. I like the figures. I don't like that Scarlet though. I think that flight suit is garbage. I don't understand why they put Ace in that suit. He's not flying a SR-71 spy plane. He's flying an F-14 Tomcat, which is not the same thing. I don't know why they added the Cobra guys in there. I would rather have the ground crew or the flight crew for the Skystriker display better if you were going to display it. The Cobras are a cool addition, but I think those should have been the last tier.
Yep.
The last tier and have the flight crew is, because I mean that's a Joe piece. You're not selling a Rattler, you're selling a Skystriker.
Well, and Gazz, the Cobra crew were thrown in at the last minute to help to get over.
Yes. Right, I understand that, but they should have been the last unlockable tier, not the ketchup and mustard guys. Yeah, exactly. Is it worth it? I guess. I mean, I don't know how much you would sell on a Skystriker in retail. Like again with the blast effects, and I think that stuff's garbage. For me, it is. I mean, I'm not going to use it. I make my own sound effects. I don't need a blast of flame coming out of his gun or anything like that. I mean, it's cool for photographers and stuff, but not for me. $130, $230. I think maybe is a little steep, but I guess it's okay if you have the money to spend for it. Yeah. Is it for kids? Probably not. I mean, when my nephew gets old enough and he comes in and he sees G.I. Joe and he wants to play with him, I'm not going to let him play with him. I don't have no hesitation. I'm not worried about reselling this stuff. Doesn't bother me none. I don't need a Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander. I never had one as a kid. I didn't even know it existed until I got back into collecting. So it does absolutely nothing for me. I'd rather just have a standard Cobra Commander. And I agree with Hans. That classified Cobra Commander that came out in Wave 2, I think is a much better figure. I don't mind getting a vintage classic looking one. That's fine. But I prefer that one. He reminds me of the one that was in, what was it? Resolute. He was a bastard in that, right? So that's my Cobra Commander. So, yes. So for me, it's not. That's why I didn't back it. I had no like hesitation to thinking, should I get one? Should I get one? No, I just said no. I don't want it. I wanted the O-rings, but not the Skystriker. That's why I got the 2-pack of Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes to say, hey, yeah, I want O-rings again. I don't like what you're doing with Retroline. I'd rather have this. But not enough to get the Skystriker now.
I think that at $20 a figure, at 7 figures, it's 140, and then it's 90 for the Skystriker is kind of how I see it.
I think that's too steep for a figure anyway.
It probably is, but Articulated Chad, thank you for the super chat. He reminds Bryan to be well, I guess.
No promises.
I mean these O-ring figures should be. I think they should be selling them at like the $10 price range instead of like 20. Like those reaction figures are a 5-point articulation figure, and you're charging $20 for them. That's ridiculous, and they shouldn't be charging $20 for these. I mean, you're getting a classified 25. You're getting a classified for 25. You get an O-ring for 20 with one gun in a backpack. Come on, bring the price down a little bit.
But they price those off of how many they make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to pay for
I
the
understand
tooling.
that. I understand that.
So the $20 that you're paying for O-rings now is because they're not selling them at retail because they don't want them. If you
totally understand that.
It was the stinger they just came out with.
But look at this, Ryan. Look at it this way, Ryan. Right? When like Hans brought up his kids, they see this. Hans sees a figure for $20, and his kid kind of wants it, and he's thinking, well, that's kind of steep for $20. You're probably going to wreck it in a day. But if it's like a $10 price point, you're probably going to sell a lot more of them for parents that are looking to get their kids into G.I. Joe if they have interest in them. Shouldn't force anything down their throats or anything like that. But I mean, if they show interest in them, I think a $10 price point today would probably be the equivalent to $2.99 or $1.99 back in the 80s.
With inflation,
I think
we're slowly learning here that Gazz needs to be a guest on more shows. It's only been recently. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I've only seen him show up recently on streams, and I think we've kind of uncovered another amazing insights guy, because he's normally pretty unassuming in the chats. Then you get him on camera, and it's like boom, unleashed. I love it. I freaking love it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you've been guesting on shows for the past couple of years, but I've been seeing more recently. So, you know, I'm going to end up losing Gazz's time, having to fight for his time to get him on here at some point. But I can bait him with a G.I. Joe Resolute stream, because that is another movie Ken has seen, probably because it was in the 2000s. So,
have you seen that?
Yes. All right. Dreadnought Ryan, thoughts on worth it? Not worth it.
The 229 price point was rough for a Skystriker. I did like the updates they made to it. I understand they have to retool all this stuff, and they're not producing the quantities that they used to. I think they made up for it with the number of O-ring figures they included. I'm happy for all the folks who love this. I'm happy that for the folks who got the O-ring stuff that they wanted as well too. I hope they continue with it, because that's just another opportunity for some Joe collectors down the line. But just I don't want to come across as the Hasbro defender, but, you know, I think there are people that were complaining that we didn't get O-ring figures. Now we're getting O-ring figures. They're going to start complaining about.
Sorry.
I want to say it's like the Goldilocks effect. You know, it's like, you know, okay, you want O-ring, here you go. No, we want it for $10. Well, we can't do that because they're a smaller quantity. Well, I'm still not happy. You know, I guess it's just they're toys. I mean, if you don't like it, don't get it. But I think we're seeing positive for O-ring fans. That Stinger was $40 for the Jeep, and basically a reissue of the Cobra Officer. So maybe those prices will start to go down for some of these O-ring stuff once they start paying off that tooling.
That Stinger does look good.
So,
okay, fair enough. Hans, worth it? Not worth it.
I said before, I can fault it on playability. I can fault it on it being vintage, aimed at collectors. I can fault it because I find Ace and Scarlet should have been in the proper gear for flying a Tomcat. But can I fault it for a collector wanting it, as well as the price range and what they give you? And I don't think I can fault it for that costing. You know, I don't think I can fault it for that as a collector, because if you go online right now on eBay and try to get a vintage Skystriker, it is really being shot in the leg, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So I am very happy that a lot of collectors have the opportunity to get this. I think this price is reasonable. I think the number of figures is reasonable. I think everybody getting the O-ring. I do agree with Gazz. I do think that the flight crew should have been Joe's, not Cobra's. Willing to accept that. It's odd, but whatever. It is definitely worth it.
Okay.
Am I getting one? No, I'm not getting one. For the same reason I'm not getting this, because I will pay this plus an arm, a leg, and potentially a child to get this down to where I am.
Hopefully not a child.
I do not wish to make more children and trade them for toys. And at the end of all this, can I just after Bryan speaks to somebody, do one thing? I just need to rant this out real fast. If you want, I can rant it out right now.
What I'll do is I'll have you rant it out when I pull, because when I'm done everybody's thoughts, I'm gonna pull the image off the screen, and then you can rant with a bigger screen. How about that? All right.
I'm all for that.
Xazyl?
So when I first saw the reveal of this, my first thought was, yes, we're getting some more O-ring Joes now. This is awesome. Skystriker isn't for me, but I know that there are, you know, I mean, everyone says, oh, we want to do a flag. We want the flag to be done. We want the whale to be done. All of those grand things that would be really awesome if they did. But if you can't do those, the Skystriker is a no-brainer. Like it's the flagship of G.I. Joe. You see it, you know, flying overhead. You know, Skystrikers, right?
Right.
So you know, it is. You know, it's instantly recognizable. So I look at it and I think, oh, that's G.I. Joe. You look at the O-ring figures, like, oh, these are great. It's like some are familiar and some are new sort of takes on it. As Bryan said, there's a whole new figure that's been offered there. This is all brilliant stuff. It's just not, sitting for me right where my collection is. If it was a Warthog with a Sarge and a full crew that fit inside the Warthog, I'd be like, this is amazing. I need it. I want it. How am I going to get it? Ryan, I'm going to send it to you. Please forward it off to me. So I couldn't remember how much it was. Ken, you told me the price, and I've instantly forgot it again.
$229.99.
Right. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it, but it looks great. It brings back great feelings of nostalgia. It's again, Gaz, I'm with you on the blast effects. I can't really go for it. I didn't need it as a kid. I don't need it now. But yeah, I don't hate it. I won't get it. I don't hate it, but that's where I stand.
Okay, fair enough. Bryan, worth it?
Yeah, worth it. It's a I mentioned before, it's a closer call for me. Worth it, yes. Maybe more for the figures than for the Skystriker, because we are finally getting back into O-Ring Joes, at these production numbers, to really take advantage of economies of scale, they really have to produce a lot more of them to get them down kind of to the price point per figure that we would really like to see. And they can't do that, I think, until retail sees that, hey, this stuff really can sell. So I don't think they would risk a Skystriker, on retail shelves. But for a HASLAB, it's... I almost look at it as like it was their proof of concept that they could get a G.I. Joe HASLAB project funded, that they could get it over that threshold. Mm-hmm. And they did that, I think, in the safest way possible, with a vehicle that everybody recognizes, and with some figures that people have kind of been wanting, getting back into the O-ring stuff. So I feel like this was a really safe choice. Mm-hmm. I don't remember who mentioned that they would rather have gotten a Conquest. I might have preferred to get a Conquest as well, but the Conquest is just less iconic, and they have to put something out there that's gonna everybody instantly, like, it clicks and it's like, it's that. So they had to go with, I think it had to be the Skystriker. One thing that's popped up on more than one occasion is we've had a few Skystrikers. We've had like some 30th anniversary, 50th anniversary Skystrikers. We've had some Skystrikers, and at much lower price points. Now, of course, they've retooled this and they've done all this extra stuff and they've given us all the extra bits. Yes, I understand. But we've had a Skystriker, and some people are out just because they have a closet full of Skystrikers, and that I can completely sympathize with. I do completely understand. But that also, I think, goes back to why this is a HASLAB and not retail, is because my recollection is a lot of those Skystrikers, with the exception of the 50th anniversary, the Silent Strike or whatever, a lot of those ended up in clearance. Yep. I remember people saying that they were just, coming home with a trunk load of them on clearance. Now, the Silent Strike, the 50th anniversary one, I believe cleared off the shelves better, I think, because they were shipped in much lower numbers. At least where I was, they were just like this. The Toys R Us locations were getting very few of them, so it wasn't that difficult for them to move them. But I think that this is one where it really needed the figures, I think, to really sell it. Because people are correct that we've had a few Skystrikers recently, but I think that the past experience with the Skystriker is why retail is going to be reluctant to jump on something like this for right now, unless and until we can show that, hey, this will sell, this will move, this is, it's not going to be a peg warmer, it's not going to be a shelf warmer, and some of the stuff that's out now has peg warmed. So yeah, I think it's successful because as a proof of concept, they showed they could fund a G.I. Joe HASLAB. And that opens up a lot of possibilities for the future, a lot of other options, a lot of doors because this is being funded. So for that, I guess for that reason, it's worth it.
Fair enough.
But for an individual buying it, I do think it's that's a tougher one. It's a much closer call.
Well, we have an interesting question here before we get the Hans thoughts on this, but Fuller Figures asks a very interesting question here. Was the timing of the HASLAB HISS tank better than the Skystriker and Rancor being outside of Christmas, and did it help it fund so quickly? My candid thoughts on that is that the collector market right now is hotter for classified, and people are just expecting to see it when they buy it. They tend to think of O-Ring as vintage and aren't necessarily thinking about it top of mind when they go to a Hasbro Pulse. That's my thoughts on that. Not sure if anybody wants to add to that. Well, that was my initial thought. Yeah.
With the classified being a 6-inch series, you have Marvel collector fans and you have Star Wars Black Series fans who are coming back to collecting Joe because it's in the same scale as what they're collecting now. That's why classified is done so well. You have more new people coming into the line compared to what we had before. So that's why classified has been selling. That's why that HISS tank, made that 8,000, backer goal, and how many hours it took for them to make it, is because you have new people coming in to buy specifically that size line.
But I don't think it hurt that it wasn't Christmas.
Well, yeah, that too. But G.I. Joe, when G.I. Joe first came out, it played well with other action figures of its time, like Star Wars and so forth. But it played better because of the added articulation. They added to the playtime. They're like, oh, you like 5 points of articulation? Well, this is the same scale, but guess what? We can move our elbows now and we can move our knees. And it elevated that play experience. Whereas now, Marvel and every other 6-inch line currently on the market, generally speaking, are fairly good as far as detail and articulation goes. And so G.I. Joe aren't leading the way anymore. They're playing catch-up, if anything. I don't know. This is another question I wanted to ask for the American people on the show. So I'm assuming Ryan is American. Bryan, Gazz, I'm not sure. I'm just going to assume that you are, but you could be anything for all I know. You can be anything. You can be whatever you want, mate. But
I'm Canadian. Woo!
Perfect. So the question I've got is, because it seems to be largely an American thing, and I noticed this back in the early days of HISS Tank when they were bringing Joes back out to retail, in that as an Australian, we don't usually have as much as you guys have on the shelves, right? So we'll buy it for whatever it is its sale price is, right? And then later on, retail price rather, and then later on, if it goes on clearance, we'll pick up maybe a second one or a third one, right? But I see a lot of people in the chat going, it's too much. I'm going to wait for it to hit the clearance aisle, or I'm going to wait for it to hit those other stores, that the dollar stores, and wait for them to pick up there. So they will literally not buy anything until it hits clearance. And I just want to get a little bit of insight around that mentality.
Yeah, because we do harder.
Here, I don't find anything on the shelves. I just find the stuff that nobody wants. Everything else is gone. I go to Target, Walmart, there's nothing there. I've just stopped going. I get everything now online. So for me, price isn't really an option. It's whether I want it or not. And I don't see anything on clearance.
I missed a tiny. Sorry, go ahead.
Everywhere around me, they've still got those movie figures out, not on clearance, still sitting on the shelves, and that's all they have. So
exactly.
Come on. So yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as Gazz. I would like to have the option to pick up a couple of things locally at retail, and I'm happy to pay full price for something that I actually want. But literally everything that's there is stuff I already have, and they're not marking it. None of the places have marked it down. They are just those figures are going to be in 2027. Those figures are going to be there. They're staying there until somebody buys them at full price.
That's funny. I think the last thing I think I found in a store was Hans's breaker with the bike. That was the last thing I found. Yeah.
It's a good find though.
And then I was like, I was surprised that I found it because I remember I saw it, and then Hans had mentioned he wanted one. I said, you know what, my Target has it. I think maybe go run down there and see if they had it. I went there, I think later that day, and there was only one left, and it had a dented corner, which is probably why it wasn't purchased.
So speaking of Hans, I know he had to get on his soapbox. I think he turned his camera off, found his soapbox, and he's about to stand really tall because I think he had something to tell us about the.
No, Ryan has to do his piece about the clearance thing.
So
first,
the 25th anniversary, then into Retaliation and Rise of Cobra, and then the 30th. A lot of those figures got moved for dirt cheap prices. The Resolute set, which I think was 8 figures, maybe more. You could pick up like Ollie's or Ross for like $10.
Right.
And what people found was on the secondary markets, if you waited a few months, you could sell it for like hundreds of dollars. So we, as Joe collectors, would just wait for it to go to clearance, not figuring out that means that we're not going to see any more Joe figures, because we were just thinking, I'm going to get it for half price, maybe 75% off, and then I can flip it on the secondary market. We kind of killed that whole line for ourselves because retail then said, we're not carrying this stuff anymore because it doesn't sell, and we're eating it at the end of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think that's probably why Motu had such a hard time getting back in, because the 2000X line didn't sell well, right? Then they had the gloss over classics, which then led to
Origin figures is selling like cake, man.
Different era though, right? Like instead of being 20 years old when those came out, we're all 40 something.
Yeah, but you would think that, I mean, with thinking that, well, you know, the last time He-Man was on the shelf, it didn't sell. We put everything on clearance, and all of a sudden Orange comes out and everybody's buying them. So I mean, once they bring in that first set, once like Walmart or whoever's selling them brings in that first grouping and puts it on the shelf and it's gone, all their stock is gone, they're going to order more because they see the people are buying it. The only problem is especially with, I don't know about the other brands, 'cause I don't really follow any other brands, just G.I. Joe. I mean, when I walked in there, I was always disappointed. I could never find like, oh, the waves came out. I remember, was it the Beachhead Wave came out at Target? And I went there on a day that I thought they were supposed to come out. I saw them on the cart. I asked the guy, can I have one? Just one. I don't want it anymore. Just one. He's like, I can't sell them right now because they're for tomorrow release. I'm like, all right. I came back the next day. They were gone.
Yeah.
They were gone. I mean, like, there people standing there at 8. I can't imagine anybody standing there at like 7 o'clock waiting for the store to open to walk in there to buy G.I. Joe action figures.
Gazz, the guy who you're asking about it, had 15 people asking the same question. He's like, I'm going to buy these all up and put them on eBay.
Ken.
Probably what he did.
It was probably Ken.
Well, I mean, I'm a bit of a slippery, you know. Yeah, I mean, it does sound like something I would do if nobody saw me, if there were no security cams, I had a ski mask on.
I think Ken has a network of people out there. I think Bryan has the mantle of Cobra Commander, but I think you are Cobra Commander.
You know what? In a better life, once upon a time, a nightlife, you ever noticed that I say I sleep, but do I really sleep? Always got a coffee cup and something like that. Anyway, we're gonna go. I'm happy to blow way past the 90-minute mark today, which is usually when we terminate the stream, because this is a great discussion. Most number of people I've had on here so far. Hopefully I haven't repeated the questions too often, because I know we would roundtable, then another roundtable. So hopefully I haven't botched the handling of this so far, but I do want to see, I do want to see / absorb Hans's soapbox talk here.
Okay, so I have to firstly applaud. Sorry, I assume you're giving me the floor. I assume.
Well, I will right after the super chat, because it.
Okay, go ahead, do that first.
It might disappear by the time Hans is done talking. But a world made of cardboard. Thank you for the super chat. Ken, loved your Iconicon content. I've loved G.I. Joe since the 80s, but the new stuff just seems overpriced to me. And a lot of people share that sentiment there, World Made of Cardboard. Thank you for the kind words on Iconicon. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately, it almost feels like it's never going to go back to the amazingness of the 80s, but we can do what we can as collectors to get close to that if possible.
Well, to that comment though, I mean, thank you for the super chat, but it could be worse. I mean, we could be paying $40 to $50 for these figures, like Super Sevens that are coming out.
It could be
Classified,
much worse.
exactly. So
not that long ago, we had absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
It didn't matter what you wanted to pay for it because there was nothing out there.
Exactly.
So Hans, were you calling a timeout, or were you putting a hex up? What was going on?
No, I'm doing the $40 a figure. That's the cross.
Well, and if you guys remember ordering from the Collector Club, I mean, at the end it was like $35, $36 a figure, and if you bought the whole wave. If you're buying the separate ones, they were $40 a pop.
And towards the end, those figures they weren't even thinking anymore. They were just like, this part will do, this will do, this is close enough.
Well, and that's all they had because they had to use Hasbro tooling, and a lot of that tooling just went away. So they had to use what they had.
Who's making the 4-inch line for G.I. Joe? What's that group called?
Yeah, Jody Toys.
Yeah, their 4-inch figures are like $30 a whack.
Yeah, but they're 4-inch. Anyway, don't stop.
They're really good. They're really good. I'll give them that. But I mean, they're $40. So I mean, we really can't complain about the pricing of GI Joes if everything else we're buying is similar or higher.
It's a little more boutique, though, right? When you're paying like for Super 7, and I'm not standing up for these prices, but I'm saying it's a little more boutique, smaller.
But I'm just saying. I mean, if people are willing to buy those, then why would you complain about GI Joe being overpriced?
Okay, you're talking relative to each individual. Okay, fair enough.
I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. But me, I'd rather have a lower price, but I understand why the prices are the way they are. So,
yeah. Okay. All right. Hans, are you good to go?
Yeah, good to go. I just feel. Oh man, I don't feel. I know. Anyway, so what I would say, and first I'd like to start by applauding Mattel. I suppose they've done a very good job of keeping their stuff relevant. They've done their shows. They've reinvented it. As they've needed. They've adapted very well, and I do appreciate that. And as everybody has so rightly said, Hasbro is unfortunately playing catch up, and I don't like that. They're a toy company. They should be making toys. It worked in the 80s. It works now. Children are surprisingly simplistic mechanisms. You know, they like to watch TV, and after they watch their TV or the iPad, they run after the toys. And they've done it for Transformers. You know, my kids love Transformers to pieces. They've watched all of Rescue Bots. You know, everything they've had. I went and stole this from their room. These are the Rescue Bots toys now, right? This is $8.
Is that Bulkhead or who is that?
Oh yeah, it's Bulkhead, and he transforms by himself. You know, a little, and it's $8, and the kids love it. It doesn't have any articulation to speak of. It's just a fun little toy. And then, sure enough, as they move on from there, my daughter, after she watched all, she's like, "Are there any more?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, there's this other show called Cyberverse," and she's, "Well, can we watch that?" She watched that, and then she wants those toys. And she said, "How come you know so much about Transformers?" It's like, well, sit down there and let Daddy tell you a tale. And then, sure enough, you know, she learns a bit more about all these things because G.I. Joe, Transformers, Pokemon, they're they inspire imaginative thinking. It's just unfortunate that the adults managing it are not imaginative themselves. It's business people in charge of individuals with creativity and imagination who are trying to push something that they don't entirely understand. We're here discussing a toy that's almost 40 years old because of what we had with it. And rather than attempting to manufacture these experiences with the children, they're just tapping in on us. And as I said, we're not going to be here forever. And they're essentially shooting themselves in the foot for short-term profit on us rather than building, you know, this idea of nostalgia that will keep their brand going. And I know this is all like, this probably isn't good business practice, despite, you know, it feels like it should be obvious. And I feel like everybody in this room knows this, that in order to further your brand, you in essence need to create a new group of fans to follow up the ones you have right now.
Mhm.
And I feel like that should be obvious. And
Okay.
it's not intelligent for them. And it'll work in the short run, because I will, if I get that chance to buy that Hiss, at a steal of a deal, I certainly would. And I will continue to probably buy classifieds, and I'm going to continue buying my 4-inch figures on the aftermarket because I love this thing. I love this thing so much. I love the Sigma 6. I loved all of it because it was fun to play with, and I still build those memories with my kids, but they're not helping me do that. I'm doing that myself, and I believe that they can spend a chunk of that multi-billion-dollar paycheck that they have to do this because it would benefit them in the long run, and I'm done.
And that's something. First off,
Agree.
thank you for that. That's something that I was talking to with Gazz and Ryan yesterday. Is that when you look at the cost, 8,000 Hiss tanks at $300 each is something around nice figure, and there's something around $2.5 million, right? And that does sound like a lot of money. Now it's a $12 billion company, so $2.5 million over 12 billion is like, I'm not even going to say it's less than 1%. It's less than a fraction of 0.1%. It's like you or me not wanting to gamble $10 and then asking okay, can you guys, everyone throw in a penny and or a dime or a nickel and crowdfund my $10 investment here. Relatively speaking, that's what it can feel like. And I know, Ryan, you don't see it the same way I do, but someone talked me out of that thinking.
So when we say $12 billion, that's how much money they bring in. What are their expenses, though? If you look at the big picture of a company, I can bring in $12 billion, but if my expenses are $11.5 billion, I made $500 million, which, hey, that's a great deal, right? But once you figure out how many shares you have to pay that out to, that return on investment for those shareholders is small.
Okay.
Hasbro is a $1 billion company, but if you look at their financial statements, they have large, I want to say, like, they spend a lot of money because they've bought Power Rangers. They just renewed the license for Star Wars, and I think Indiana Jones now. They have a lot of expenditures that are out there, but they also have this movie, TV, entertainment section that has not been driving too much revenue for them.
Okay.
It's been, as silly as it sounds, it's the board games that have been the big revenue driver for Hasbro right now. And Hasbro needs to get their house in order for sure. If you're going to have that, the AllSpark as their entertainment company, they need to start producing entertainment off the IP they own, because that's just bringing in revenue that they're not paying licensing fees for.
So
Right.
Transformers and G.I. Joe, for example. But
Right.
yeah, so I mean, at this point in time, we're just into an open discussion and the very long-winded closing, remarks, and because I know everyone's had a lot to say on this. I hope I gave you guys all decent floor time there. Xazyl, I know it's really late where you are, or really early, depending on which.
What?
Yeah.
What? I'm up. What?
There we go.
Where were we? Hans, you were saying, Hans? What was your? You're going to get on your soapbox, I think.
On and off.
Been on and off while I was playing with the layouts here. So
it is 3:38 a.m. here, and I do have an early morning for me stream tomorrow with the guys from. We've got Carson and I can't remember his name. That's going to bug me. 3:39.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Always check out Sergeant Slaughterhouse, basically a sister channel, sibling channel to this one, as many channels are. So yes, we will do an Operation Recall stream, and I think Bryan, I believe you're going to be on that one as well. Unless I got that wrong.
if they want me.
Oh, I have no idea.
I sent you the link, Bryan. You're on it, right?
Yeah.
I sent you the link. Be there.
Okay.
I'm happy to jump on in a few hours. I take my son to swimming classes, and then we might do a few errands, but he'll be really tired and need a nap. So I managed to weasel my way to do a second stream today. But
that was great.
One of the creators. one of the creators of one of the characters is going to be there. I can't
It's the
remember his
creator
name.
of the Saul Eagle Guerrero character.
Right. Yeah.
That's going to be on there.
I feel bad. I
Yes.
can't remember the creators.
Can I just say how brilliant that Kickstarter is?
Oh, it's so good.
It's so brilliant. It's another reason why I backed out of the hiss, was so I can back that.
Yeah.
I mentioned
it's David Emmanuel Martinez.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you.
I was gonna say Emmanuel something, but I was like, oh no, did he make a different figure? Like, anyway.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, that I feel guilty for not remembering that. It's super nice guy. I'm looking forward to having him on the channel. I won't make excuses for it being so early in the morning. I couldn't remember such a amazing name, considering my name is also pretty fucking outrageous.
For sure. Yeah. So just, I'm not going to pick anyone in particular, but if anyone has anything else to say about the HASLAB Hiss Tank, the Skystriker, comparing it to other HASLABs, whether it's something from Marvel Legends or the couple of Transformers, or now let's not compare it to the Star Wars recently, unless you want to go all the way back to the
I am so
sail
glad
barge.
they picked the crap out of Reva's lightsaber.
What was that?
What was the thought pattern behind
I have
that?
never been so happy. I was like, didn't get funded. Flip over the table.
What was that?
I would add something. Like, I think Hans is like the major point is undeniable. Like, for the long term, you have to get new people interested in this brand. You have to, and all this stuff we've been talking about is not aimed at that at all. But Ryan is also correct. I mean, we are dealing with a corporation that owns this intellectual property, and unfortunately, that is the reality that we live in, and that creates some barriers to some actions that may, in fact, be obvious, but may not be obvious to somebody who is, on the 50th floor in some building in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. So it creates an interesting situation for us, because we want this thing to do well. We want the next generation to come in. We want all of these things, and we have very little control or power over it. I don't know that I have the solution. In fact, I know I don't have the solution. But one thing that I believe, though, is that the more successes we have, like the HASLAB Hiss Tank, and the more successes we have at retail, the more likelihood that somebody will, loosen the wallet a little bit and give us a little bit of an opportunity to try to target those new fans and try to get that next generation in.
I'm not sure if it's going to help the new fans or not, but Chad has a great comment here. Maybe this does hit the new fans, because some of the sketches and stuff from Operation Recall are done by kids. But Operation Recall, Longbow, Skeletron, I'd like to add Strike Force Alpha, Legends of the Hidden Force, and Delta 17 to this list. And this touches on next week's video of mine. Is going to be, if you guys remember my Expanding the Range video from Iconicon, I'm doing a new Expanding the Range video specifically on the O-ring renaissance of figure brands that we're getting, and this is exactly feeding into that. John adds Valaverse, although that's more the 1/12 scale stuff more than the 1/18 we're talking about today. But yes, I do some Valaverse videos as well, and Brian, some great thoughts on that there, and hopefully the line does carry on, because with other toys, Transformers, Marvel, Star Wars, they all have adults and kids collecting them. G.I. Joe feels like it's just adult.
Yeah, but don't like, I'm correct. You can correct me wrong. I don't collect Transformers, but they do have like a kids line, like Hans just showed. It was like a kids line. Maybe
Yes.
I think Bryan had said this. Said this in one of his streams. I don't know when, probably years ago, but that G.I. Joe, for it to continue, needs to evolve itself. And I think he brought up like an adventure line instead of just like geared to military, but like an adventure line geared to children would be cool. I mean, you could come out with like a lower sale price figure, kind of like they did with those those movie figures that came out there weren't exactly classified style. They were just a little lower. I think they were $10 price range. And you do like a safari adventure guy, you do like a desert adventure guy, you do something like that.
Like the specifics, I don't know exactly what they should do. I'm not a marketing genius, almost though. But like, just something that is made specifically for kids now, rather than kids, 40 years ago. I think would at least have a chance. So I don't know. Yeah, that's
G.I. Joe could be a vast line. It doesn't necessarily have to be, a real American hero. I mean, you could. There's fans of everything. If you're just appealing to us as a collector, you could put out. I mean, you're obviously going to put out a 4-inch line, but you could put out all these different lines, and we're gonna, most of us are going to buy the ones we like, and some of us are going to buy everything because we want it all. But I mean, you could easily do something like that, or they could look into it. I don't know what the goals are corporation wise, but
I ended up buying the entire Transformers Rescue Bots line, the Firehouse, everything, because not only was it on the show, but my kids loved it. And not only that, I mean, I sat down there and played with them too. And they're well-built, fun little things. And they're building these memories. They know them by name. It's wonderful to see. And I agree with Gazz 500%. Could you imagine imagine a G.I. Joe team not led by Duke, but led by, Barbecue or one of the other rescue guys, Stretcher or something like that. Let them take the lead. A new character.
Right?
How much they've built on Thundercracker and Skywarp in the Transformers mythos. Imagine you now learning a lot about Barbecue. You learn.
Well, the thing is, Transformers always had that relatable underdog in Bumblebee, other than just their leaders, and G.I. Joe almost kind of needs that, right? I mean,
Shipwreck, man, there are tons of them. There are tons of underdogs. Shipwreck.
I mean, if you really wanted to bring the name into it, I mean, you could easily, put Duke in like in an adventure kind of situation. He doesn't need to be like a specific fireman or police officer. He could just be an adventurer, and his buddies could be Barbecue and.
For some reason, I think Bazooka.
Bazooka.
The greatest one.
Well, the 70s had an adventure team when they were trying to transition out of the Vietnam War era and like the war theme of G.I. Joe. So yeah. Well,
but they definitely need to get some sort of media going. They need something, whether it be cartoon, TV show, live action, whatever.
Are they?
It doesn't matter. They need something.
Isn't Netflix doing a cartoon now that they know that people, at least, I don't know how much.
I heard something about it, but I haven't heard anything since.
There's nothing in production.
Because with War for Cybertron and the Kevin Smith Motu stuff, which a lot of people are very divisive about both of those, but they did get enough traction, I think, so that I think G.I. Joe would be worth putting to there. Like, build off a Resolute. Like, that was like the best G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah, but also want to kind of appeal to kids, and Resolute isn't.
No,
I don't think it's okay. I don't even mind. Like, if they do another movie, I wouldn't mind if it's just an animated movie. They don't have to go live action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just as long as. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I just to somewhat further that point as well, and a little bit along the same lines. I think they were hoping that because the Rise of Cobra and Retaliation films did not hit the way that the and I'll say, hopefully YouTube doesn't screen me for cursing here, but Michael Bay Transformers movies, they didn't hit to that same level as of those. That was a joke, guys. Thank you, Xazyl, for being the only one to laugh.
I got it.
But
I got it.
with the Snake Eyes movie, I think they were hoping it would be the Bumblebee movie of the franchise, and it just didn't get to that level.
Absolutely.
Right? Because Bumblebee, while it didn't do quite as much of a blockbuster as the others, it did get people talking about the quality of the movie. And I think it still did better than one of the other Transformers movies, but it was like second from the bottom in terms of revenue, but it still made a lot of money. That you can't look at it as a failure just because relative to the first few films, it didn't make as much. Like, it still made like $600 or $700 million at the box office. And I think they were just hoping Snake Eyes could hit half of that. Right? So, and hopefully appeal to new fans, which I guess it didn't do, right?
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, yes, the Snake Eyes movie was a flop. You can put it more charitably if you want to, but let's just call it what it was. But it was an attempt to get G.I. Joe into the popular consciousness right now. It was an attempt. It didn't work, but that was at least an effort. So my concern is that that failure makes Hasbro gun shy about trying something else. But they did try. Now, the difference, I think, like Bumblebee, it didn't make as much money as the Michael Bay blockbusters, but it made enough, and people who saw it liked it. They walked out feeling happy about it. So but like Snake Eyes didn't have any of that. It was a mostly humorless movie that took itself very seriously. I don't want to get into all of that.
It's fine, but when people rank the Transformers movies of this era, or all of them, there's two movies that stick out. It's the 86 animated film and the Bumblebee movie, and then it becomes a matter of which ones do you rank next, right? Yeah. And if Snake Eyes had at least been the critical success and the good enough financial success, there would have been more hope for the future of Joe.
Sounds like you're challenging me to rewrite that movie into success.
Somebody should.
I would draw the hell out of that comic, man. I could make that movie amazing.
Yes.
I want to know how the G.I. Joe movie released in only 2 days, a Thursday and a Saturday. I would love to know what that box office was.
The Fathom Events one?
$5. It was me.
No, the animated G.I. Joe movie from, compare that to Snake Eyes. I wouldn't be surprised if that box office is pretty close.
If it released, yeah.
I think for us as fans today, if we want to talk about getting Joe to the kids, I challenge all of us to not depend on Hasbro to do that. Bryan, I have to give you probably some of the biggest props. You and Joe Berg were the ones that helped me get back into G.I. Joe when you're putting out your content. I think us as the fans, if we start engaging new fans, that's what's going to help Joe continue to grow. That's what's going to help the kids find out about those old O-ring figures, the old vehicles, the beaters. Let them play with them. It's us that needs to be the ambassador for the brand now. And not depend on Hasbro to do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I support Ryan's manifesto, and and I said, let's we can lead the way. We can lead the way.
Lead by example.
Yeah, man,
so much passion here, so much going on. Like I said, we've gone over the usual allotted time, and I was so happy to do that here, especially with this panel. I'm not sure if Xazyl dropped off by accident or not. I know he's really, really late for him, and I'm going to see him in a few hours again anyway. But guys, great discussion today. I hope I didn't leave anything out. If anyone has any, did I cut anybody off too short on their talk? Or you guys all?
The only thing I have to spew here is, this kind of venomous vitriol against certain things. I want to keep it inside because you know what, man? Y'all don't need that negativity in your life. Y'all are good people. Y'all handsome people. Y'all bring in, once again, kids and stuff will see this. And we'd be inspired to get kids to play with this stuff because they are great toys. Even the vintage stuff. Ryan told me a wonderful story the other day how he let his kids play in the snow with his ice saber and stuff. Man, I don't have snow down here, but that's what they need. Let them play with it.
Come back to Canada. You'll get snow at least part of the year.
Things bubbling up inside you, just bottle that up.
Well, you know what?
Let them break your stuff. Let them break your stuff, and then have fun putting it back together.
It's only a toy.
Really only a toy. It's true.
So you know what?
Except for you, Baroness, you're not a toy.
If you don't want to spew vitriol, what's that? If you don't want to spew vitriol here, follow Hans on Instagram, and he can spew all the vitriol there, right? Follow Gazz on Instagram. Follow Dreadnought Ryan on Instagram. Follow Hooded Cobra Commander on Instagram. Follow Sergeant Slaughter Slaughterhouse on Instagram and Toy Kennections. Subscribe to Sergeant Slaughter Slaughterhouse YouTube channel. Island of Misfit Toy Collectors and Hooded Cobra Commander 788.
And Jay Bartlett and Articulated Chad, they're both in
all of the guys who were in the chat there.
Dudes.
All of you guys that were here. Follow everyone. I mean, this was a great chat. I haven't had as many people in the live chat before and on the screen, so it was quite a bit to manage, but I'm up for the task, hopefully. Guys, it's been fun. And I think what I'll do is I'll let everyone get on with their day at this point in time, and put in the comments section if you guys, those who watch it after the fact, is it worth it? Is HASLAB, should it be a thing? You like the HISS tank? You like the Skystriker? Do you like the other HASLABs? Let us know. Thank you for to the Patreon supporters and the channel members. And with that, I think I'll curb the discussion. Bid you guys further ado. And you're all dismissed. Yojo, Cobra,
Joe.
whatever happens to be your fancy. Take care, everyone.
Bye
And
now.
have a good one.